World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good day, I am Peñano with today's World News in 5. Iran's Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khamenei says he approved a Memorandum of Understanding signed by Iran and the United States despite having reservations about the agreement. In a message to the nation, Khamenei said he gave his authorization after receiving assurances from President Masoud Pezeshkian and other senior officials that Iran's rights and strategic interests would be protected. He added that the Iranian government has pledged to resist any demands from Washington that it considers excessive. Khamenei also stressed that future direct negotiations with the United States would not mean accepting the American position on key issues. In related news, U.S. President Donald Trump is facing criticism from members of his own Republican Party over an interim agreement aimed at ending the conflict with Iran. Several Republican lawmakers questioned provisions reportedly tied to sanctions relief and the release of frozen Iranian assets, with some warning the deal could weaken U.S. leverage over Tehran. Congressional leaders have also called for more information, saying lawmakers have yet to receive a formal briefing on the agreement. The White House argues the deal helps stabilize global energy markets and keeps the strategically important Strait of Hormuz open to international shipping. Despite the criticism, some Republicans have backed the agreement, describing it as a step toward avoiding a prolonged conflict. In other news, Ukrainian forces have carried out another drone strike on an oil refinery in southeast Moscow, igniting a major fire and sending thick black smoke over the Russian capital. Authorities say the refinery, located just outside the city's ring road, was hit for the second time in 3 days. The attack is part of a wider Ukrainian campaign targeting Russia's energy infrastructure, which Kyiv says helps fund the war effort. Officials reported widespread disruption in Moscow, including temporary airport suspensions and evacuation of one of the city's main airports. Ukraine says these strikes are intended to pressure Russia, while Moscow has downplayed the impact and denied any shift in the battlefield balance. Meanwhile, in Africa, at least 11 members of the security forces and 2 civilians have been killed after an attack on the airport and military airbase in Niger's capital, Niamey, according to the government. Officials said government forces repelled the assault and killed 22 attackers, while around 20 others were arrested and weapons were seized. Explosions and gunfire were reported early Thursday morning, with witnesses describing several hours of sporadic clashes near the airport complex. Authorities later said the situation had returned to calm and that airport operations have resumed. No group has claimed responsibility, but Niger remains vulnerable to recurring attacks by armed groups associated with extremist networks in the Sahel region. A cholera outbreak in Nigeria's conflict-hit Borno state has killed at least 90 people and infected more than 12,000 others, according to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The UN agency said the death toll has risen from 74 as the disease continues to spread rapidly since it began in early May. 8 groups are scaling up treatment, disease surveillance, and access to clean water to help contain the outbreak. The United Nations has also released emergency funding to support response efforts, but officials say more resources are urgently needed to prevent further spread. And And that concludes today's edition of World News in 5. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, I am Win Peñano. Good day.
World News in 5.
Right now.
News and developments making headlines around the world in 5 minutes. World News in 5. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.